Greetings. If ever there was a need for us to take a minute and think to ourselves, WTF, to take a step back and examine the state of this world and the nature in which it has been constructed, and think to ourselves, WTF, to break away from the countless distractions, bombardments of entertainment, and shite we interpret as news, placing focus on where our world is headed, all the while thinking to ourselves, what the fuck, well now is the bloody time. Our world has become a cesspool of convolution, driving fear and anxiety to tackle everyday issues, let alone allowing for any time to dig into worldly events and how they interconnect. I mean, the proposition of tackling what on the surface appears to be concepts, policies, and events of extraordinary complexity is daunting, and doing so would take away from our capacity to spend time with our loved ones, right? Or would it take time away from viewing the upcoming event at the Coliseum, Sunday NFL ticket, the Premiership, Dancing with the Stars, and getting pissed with the lads? In either regard, digging into this sort of stuff in no way is a priority, let alone an interest in our culture. Thus we leave it to the so-called quote-unquote experts to summarize and put the pieces together for us. Yet it's never too late to start shifting time towards looking, questioning and seeking out answers, and if ever there was a time to apply Occam's razor for answers, now is the bloody time. Occam's razor asserts that one should proceed to simpler explanations until simplicity can be traded for greater explanatory power. How long are we going to limit our understanding of most everything to what consensus reality has dictated for us, while relying on expert opinion to provide us with answers to most everything that is taking place in this world, which requires a bit of critical thinking? How many diluted and deliberately complex explanations, knee-jerk rejections, and useless rebuttals will we swallow before gaining awareness to the fact that this ever-growing pile of shite tastes of exactly that, shite, perhaps a bit on the nutty side? We have all been exposed to the marketing campaign with regard to the celestial anomalies beginning last year as to the unusual position, size, and illumination of planetary bodies. We are all aware to the fact our moon is mysteriously larger and illuminating brighter than it ever has before. Our skies are being blanketed with misty white substances which enhanced sunlight as opposed to blocking it, drastically increasing the intensity of the sun while generating magnificent displays of bright pink and orange at sunrise and sunset. Specks of static-like substance, described by others as tiny glimmering flakes of silver, are present non-stop in our skies, observable to the naked eye. People around the world are noticing a distinct ringing in the ear representative of increased exposure to RFs and microwaves, a phenomenon known as microwave hearing. The United States is being cooked, with this past July clocking in as the warmest month ever on record in the history of the United States. In fact, beginning in May of 2011, the United States has been experiencing an ongoing period which has been the warmest ever on record, actually escalating in duration and intensity, leading to a rolling 14-month period of the likes never seen before in recorded history, with last month being the warmest month ever. And sure, we all recognize there are natural cycles of weather patterns, but we should also recognize this pattern is absolutely a radical anomaly, a spike in temperatures that are off the charts, which quote-unquote, by chance, embarked the very same month I first went public with all of this, May of 2011. It needs to be recognized both the increased celestial illumination and warming temperatures needed to happen in order for my claims to hold merit. Not only have they done so, but they commenced the very month I went public, and in record-shattering fashion. The sightings of orbs and other bizarre phenomena are at an all-time high, myself going from witnessing an orb before to filming hundreds in the past year, many of which are simply dazzling in appearance, radiating plasma-like energy, with the inner structure separated with the outer atmosphere via morphing membranes in the shape of a hexagon. A unique explanation has been provided for each one of these, yet did you realize there is a single explanation which can be provided for all of the aforementioned? And again, we're talking about a single explained to weather patterns and celestial anomalies of the likes never seen before. In fact, all of these extremely unique and bizarre patterns can be fully explained, supported by hardcore science, by two words. Yes, all can be explained and correlated. What are those two words, you ask? Occam's razor asserts that one should proceed to simpler explanations until simplicity can be traded for greater explanatory power. The simple explanation as to why we are experiencing all of the above is due to the following: liquid crystals. I was recently asked by someone near and dear as to what it is exactly I am doing to make a difference in regards to events taking place of such extraordinary and colossal magnitude. This is an underlying theme which I have heard time and time again, succumbing to the fact that we're simply little old humans, right? So what could we possibly do to thwart off such a grandiose plot and imposing dark force? What I am doing can more or less be summed up in a single statement: I'm simply being myself, possibly for the first time in my life. Well, that sounds shit easy now, doesn't it, to just going about life expressing your uniqueness of self? Our world is going through a transformation of the likes never seen before. Each and every one of us, whether conscious to it or not, are influencing and are a part of this transformation. I've come to realize this is a collective transformation, a collective awakening, which is manifesting in unique fashion in all of us, but in no way does this imply those who are in tune and those who have made a connection are somehow quote-unquote better than others. All of us have been bent over in varying magnitudes, and this is a collective human experience. And when it comes to my situation, of course it is unique, of course it's profound in nature, instrumental in its own way, but it's an expression of what is taking place. It has been as painstaking as it has been wondrous, foisting me headfirst into a realm which entangles reality with imagination, and subsequently it has led to being in an extraordinary position of unthinkable, truly one-of-a-kind knowledge. My experience has challenged all that I have been conditioned to believe, pushing the boundaries of mind over heart, developing insatiable discovery of self-awareness over self-interests, and in turn has brought to light the multitude of deep-rooted barriers which prevent all of us from blossoming into pure expressions of who it is we are, vastly limiting our perception and potential in the process. Money may be at the core of keeping the quote-unquote system going, but it is perceptions that drive our everyday lives, deep-rooted in our subconscious, dictating our behaviors, interests, beliefs, and way of life. This is hammered into us at the beginning stages of life, entering into a system of being graded and judged in what becomes a never-ending competition against our peers, while perception seeds itself within the very core of our essence. We are perceivers of others, with beliefs and behaviors dictated by how we will be perceived in the eyes of others. How others perceive our personality, our intelligence, how attractive we are, how successful we are, personal status and wealth, drilling into much more personal aspects such as what social, economic, and ethnic background do we come from, worldly and political views, religious orientation, and last but not least whether we are perceived as quote-unquote being normal. Yet who, or what, is it exactly that has constructed what can be thought as a permanent set of training wheels to keep us on this straight and narrow course of normality? Our attunement to how we are being perceived governs so much of who we are. Simply straying from the boundaries of mass consensus can lead to spontaneous judgment and rejection. Have an open mind? Perhaps it led you to look further into the events of 9/11, recognizing the abundance of holes, lies, and inconsistencies in the official story, and concluding it was a bunch of shite. Yet despite this being such a disturbing and significant proposition, being a way of full deceit and betrayal from the country we love, the critical importance to bring such information forward to others, all the while having a mountain of evidence in full support, is almost entirely dominated and suppressed by a personal need to keep hush-hush due to a fear of how we will be perceived in the eyes of others. Think about that for a moment, a recognition that the global symbol of liberty and freedom has stabbed its people and the world in the back, kept to oneself due to an immense fear of perception? Just how much is our world, the means in which it is understood, and how we view ourselves and others driven by perceptions? In a world constructed of worry and fear, where do you suppose the fear of death ranks in people's minds when it comes to what is feared the most? It clocks in at number 2. Perhaps this is surprising for some, but what do you suppose is the most feared prospect in all the world? It's the fear of public speaking. Think about that. Out of everything we know about this reality and influences in our lives, the number one fear shared around the world is fear of public speaking. I mean, for fuck's sake, and think about what drives this fear. It is all about how we will be perceived in the eyes of others. It's all about a mind trap of immense worry with regard to how we come across in the eyes of others, even if they are total strangers. How do we look? How intelligent will we come across? Will we be cast in a negative light afterward, with the most feared proposition being one of ridicule, nervousness manifesting as red in the face, stumbling for words, amateur content, dry articulation, unfit attire, and all of the other scenarios designed to run in one's mind, all driven by a comparison against a status quo, a baseline set so that we can fall into quote-unquote, the norm. With the single most fear we all share revolving around how we are perceived by others, how can we possibly think we are free to live our lives as we see fit, doing the things we want to do, saying the things we want to say, fully embracing our God-given right to express the beauty of our uniqueness? Imagine the vulnerability that comes along with tossing fear of perception aside, in parallel becoming a standout, possibly viewed as an outcast. I mean, what sort of individual would replace the constructed norms of behavior, interests, leisure, and perceptions with exercising their intellectual and spiritual essence, educating themselves on worldly concepts, exploring the vastness of reality and creations within it, questioning the status quo on a journey of tremendous discovery leading to pinnacle self-awareness, most of all demonstrating full transparency with regard to personal experiences of such extraordinary nature, subsequently following heart over mind along with an understanding that others deserve to see and hear the wealth of extraordinary knowledge gained. Yet as rattling as it has been to shake loose of these shackles of perception, the overwhelming sense of liberation gained by becoming an unrestricted self is indescribable, and it is in this very act of letting go of such a dominant form of fear-based control which catalyzes the path towards further awakening and self-discovery. It's at a point now where newfound wonders await at every corner, and I cannot wait until there is greater opportunity to share in these experiences with all of you. What I am doing in the eyes of others understandably is being viewed as insane. I mean, the knowledge being shared is off the charts, but it's a representation of me, and I suppose having the quote-unquote fortune of being in a position where a conscious decision has been made as to who it is exactly that I am. Yet in the end it is still simply a unique expression of a collective human spirit, and although it may appear on the surface to be ludicrous, insane, abnormal, futile, etc., blossoming into myself has led to an otherworldly presence, one which has put forth unthinkable effort to keep their existence hidden throughout the ages to quote-unquote, come right out of the closet. As will be outlined in videos to come, the human race was not dominated and forced into slavery. Our awareness has been wired off, negating our true power and limitless potential in the process. Within our essence exists ability where imagination is the only limit. We have been blessed with the power to create, and just imagine what happens when we realize our true potential, when we realize we are in full control of our domain. When you realize that we are not merely quote-unquote human. So what is it exactly that I'm doing? I'm simply being me, playing my part as we all are, manifesting as a unique expression of a collective human spirit. And in the end I must be doing something right if these things are so bloody concerned about it. Until next time. Take care, Tsakla.